Hey everybody! In this video, we're going to talk about social media and whether or not social media has an effect on your site rank, your search engine optimization, or really the ranking that the search engines give to your site, the amount of credibility they assign it. Does social media have anything to do with it? So if we don't know each other yet, I'm Marjorie Stiegler. I'm a physician and I'm also a digital strategy expert, particularly in the healthcare arena. So I've been working with social media and other online strategy for about a decade now. And I try to come every week to this page to do a Q&A and also to post other information about social media for physicians and other healthcare leaders. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you like and follow the page so that you will find out if we have another one coming up. So this is the question that I'm answering today. And here it is. I will read it to you. So the question is, I have just launched my website and I'm spending so much time and money on trying to grow my social media platforms. I assume when this person says so much money, they mean they're either outsourcing that or that they're paying for some automated tools. So much time and money trying to grow my social media platforms. But recently I heard search engines don't use or don't care about social media. Can that really be true? And if so, why do people spend so much time on social media? So this is a great question, and it's actually been of much debate for a very long time. If you take a look back several years, it used to be that explicitly in some of the search engine algorithms, the engagement with social media, so likes and shares, was actually part of what they used to determine your site rank, or the ability to share an article directly from your site, that was actually part of the algorithm. Today, Google says that's not the case. And from what we can understand from their documentation, Bing says maybe it is. Bing seems to think that as long as you can share articles on social media and looking at the number of shares, that they do take that into account. That's what I infer from their documentation. But here's the most important thing. Now, Google has almost 70% of the market share, and Bing has roughly 20, so that's respectable. So I care a lot about what these two search engines think and what their algorithms are, and you should too, but I have a different philosophy. The algorithms could change at any time, and at the moment that you're watching this, I could be wrong. Maybe now they are using direct social, but the point is it doesn't matter, because search engines have one goal, and that is to deliver you the best content. So you can win no matter what, whether the strategy and the algorithm, whether the algorithm changes, the strategy does not change. So let me get back to answering this question specifically. So generally speaking, the answer is no. And in particular, the answer to this question, which is I'm trying to grow my social media platforms. So the number of followers or fans you have on any given social media platform does not have any bearing on your website rank. Your selection of social media platform does not have any bearing on your website rank in any direct sense. Now, indirectly, it's huge. It can be really, really enormous, which is why, in answer to this person's question, people spend so much time cultivating their social media networks. So let me explain what I mean in terms of the indirect. So this is essentially the core of your off-page search engine optimization, right? So certain platforms have the ability, they already have established credibility. They have high authority for the search engines. What do I mean by that? High authority means that the search engines believe that that website offers up high quality, trusted content that is relevant to the keywords, right? So my website, for example, has a lot of material about social media and about professional development. So it probably would have more authority with Google on that than it would have for a recipe, for example, because I don't post about that. So even if I did tomorrow, it wouldn't have authority in that regard. So that's important to know. So the social media platforms do not have necessarily a lot of authority when you send a link out. So if you have a blog post and you tweet about it or you put it up on Facebook, that act in and of itself does not increase your website's rank. When other people come along and share it, for Google at least, that also does not increase your website rank. But what does increase your website rank is when people click through and come to your website. Now, that's called an outbound link, or it's a backlink. This is a link that's external to your website that's coming back to your website. And if it's coming from a high quality website, then it carries a lot of weight. If it's coming from Facebook, it carries much less weight. However, in aggregate, if you have a bunch of people who are sharing that post and you're getting a lot of eyes on the post and you're getting a lot of clicks back to your website from that post, and importantly, that your website is structured in such a way that you have high quality content that's search engine optimized for the reason that people are clicking through from your post, and that you have great user experience so that people stay on your website, that increases your credibility and your site rank. So it's indirect, but it definitely happens. So if you have a really engaged social media platform that is willing to share these links around so they get seen by a lot of people and ideally clicked by a lot of people, and then people stay and engage on your site, that helps. The other thing, of course, that can happen is people might pick up your link, see your article, and then cite your article later, right? So again, this is the backlink strategy. It's not a direct result of your social media, but it's absolutely the indirect result, because a blogger or somebody else who's influential, who has a high credibility site that already enjoys a good amount of authority, could be citing your article and people would link from their site back to yours. So if this is what results from your social media strategy, that's a huge win for your website. Now, this person's question, if we go back to the beginning, said they just launched their website. Now, that's a really key part of their question, because if you have just launched a website, it does not have any inherent credibility, right? The authority of your website, no matter how much authority you may have, the authority of your website is going to be low when you first launch. So getting traffic to it, getting people who stay because of your great site structure and user experience is really important, and getting visibility through social media so that other people may want to cite your blog in their next blog post, that gives you credibility and that gives you a boost in your search engine ranks for your site. Now, someone has also asked me about authority, so I'm going to just rope that in here, about authority and how they should structure their site as a physician who has a side gig. So this is sort of part two of that question. This person has been blogging as a physician for a long time, so they have a website that has a lot of, if I had to assign a value, they have a lot of value and a lot of search engine credibility in what they've been blogging about for some number of years, which is medical. Now that they've started a side gig, sort of a startup business that's not medical, they're starting to sort of shift over their content to that topic. And the authority does not carry over, basically. If you're starting to change the subject, Google and the other search engines already know that your website has high credibility or medium credibility, whatever they've assigned it in the past, for that specific set of topics and keywords for which people have been coming in the past and engaging in the past. So that does not help you when you start to sort of change the subject. You have to kind of start anew. So for many physicians who have, or really any professional who has sort of a side gig or some other entrepreneurial business, and you're trying to run them out of your same website, it's really, I think, important that you have distinct strategy and also that you have a user experience that is not confusing. When people land on your website from one or another of your social media posts, you want to be sure that where they end up makes sense to them. And so they don't land in, a very sort of a bio that's all about your office practice or your academic work if what you're trying to do is grow traffic for your side business. Similarly, if you're trying to, grow your medical practice, you don't want people to land on what they're going to sort of perceive as a hobby page, and they're not going to understand what they're doing there. So it's Google's estimation of the trust, the quality of your content, and the relevance to the search term. So that's sort of what is the essence of your site rank or your site credibility. So that's why that's really important for not only social media, and why social media is such an important part of off-page strategy, even though social media itself, the platforms, don't influence the rank, at least not on Google, right? Perhaps a little bit on Bing. Also, again, the size of your number of followers, no direct relationship to your website's rank. On the other hand, if you have a lot of followers, indirectly, you have a lot more chance people will see your content, share your content, and then people will click back to your website and stay. And that's where your credibility and your search engine boost is going to come from. So if you have any questions about this type of thing, on-page and off-page search engine optimization, and you haven't really heard about off-page strategy before, if that's the case for you, hop on over to my blog. It's marjoriestieglermd.com, and you'll find there a 5-day course, a free course on basics of digital strategy. So I'm happy to send that to you so you can understand a little bit more about search engine optimization, website optimization, and also about on and off page search engine optimization. And plus, if you have any additional questions either about this subject or really any other subject that's around social media or your blog, your website, your online strategy, go ahead and leave that for me in the comments, or you can send it to me any way that you want, because I may well answer it in an upcoming Q&A. So I'm happy to do that. I really love to get your questions. I like to know what's most important. I like to know what's sort of trickiest that you're trying to figure out how to navigate. So let me see if I can close the loop here for this person's question, right? Which is, should she be, I think the question behind the question here is, should she be spending so much time and money on social media, having just launched the website? I would say the answer to that is yes, but in a careful way. So it's important to grow the platform, but it's also very important to have the backlinks grow, right? This is the essence of the credibility. Importantly, the links that come back to your website have to come from a site that already has high credibility. And as we've discussed, search engine, they don't consider Facebook and Twitter as high credibility sites. In contrast, they may consider YouTube to be an authority, right? Because oftentimes a video is really one, a very popular, well-produced video is sometimes one of the best sources of information. So YouTube is a little bit of an exception, and I'll speak to that here in a second. But in general, so if you send out a link on Facebook or on Twitter and other people share it, although that's great for visibility, it doesn't have the same amount of credibility as it would if you had, instead of 5 social media shares, if you had those 5 people who are sharing, if they would just write a blog post on their own websites, assuming they have good websites, and link back to your site, that would be much more helpful. Now, a word of caution, because I see this all the time in a lot of my groups, my entrepreneurial groups, it is not a good idea to get yourself involved in some kind of backlink farm, if that's what they used to be called, a backlink farm, or some kind of a ring where you list a bunch of blogs, you have your blog roll, right? You list a bunch of websites to link to them, and then they list them to link to you. The search engines hate this, and they will penalize it, so don't do that. If you have other sites that you think are extremely high quality and they're really good resources and they're related to your content, then you can include them, and you should indeed have links that go outbound. That is also an important part of strategy. But you want to steer very, very clear of this sort of link for link type of strategy, because that not only doesn't help, you will get penalized for that. So back to YouTube before I close, here's something that people are always asking about on YouTube. So because videos are long, they can often contain a fair amount of information. And if they have the right search engine optimization, right, for video, that can be tricky because Google doesn't know what I'm saying right now. But for video that does have really great search engine optimization and has really good content, that can often be served up as one of the top ranking search engine results for a given query. And if your YouTube video or your Facebook video is among those, that's super for your brand. That's fantastic, right? But it also still doesn't give your actual website a credibility or search engine boost. Why? Because the person who's consuming it isn't on your website. They're on YouTube. So YouTube has a great amount of credibility. It's a very high ranking platform, but your video being on that does not help your own website's credibility. This is why at the end of any YouTube video, you should have a call to action for the person to come click on a link to your website to get more information, ideally, that follows naturally from the content that you're talking about. Because if you can get a lot of clicks back from YouTube, then you may boost, again, your site's inherent credibility. Now, I don't know, and again, the algorithms change all the time, whether or not YouTube potentially has more credibility than a link from Facebook or Twitter. I think it probably might, because the search engines offer YouTube videos as answers to queries, but they don't offer tweets, right? You'll see tweets if you Google yourself, you'll see your own tweets. But if you ask a question, what's the best this or that, a tweet is not going to be the top answer. That's not how they do. So since they don't think that the links from those are coming from a high credibility source, they don't treat it that way. But YouTube is a high credibility source. So it might be that links back from YouTube in and of themselves have more credibility. I don't know really the answer to that. And again, it could change tomorrow. So if you take away nothing from this video, you've got to understand that no matter what the algorithms are, and really the question here is social media part of the algorithm? It's not, but it doesn't matter because it's so important to the strategy overall, right? And even if tomorrow it changes and becomes one of the top elements of the different search engines and their choice of your site's rank, it doesn't matter. You'll be doing the same thing. You will be creating fantastic content that's on a clear website that has a great user experience, and you'll be sharing it out through social media with other like-minded people who are genuinely interested and therefore will click back to your website and read your articles and share it to other people who will then click back to your website and read your articles. And in a self-sustaining way, then you will be boosting your website's authority and your website's rank within the algorithms, really no matter what they are, because the algorithm's main purpose is to deliver the searcher really great content. So the algorithm changes, they come and go, it doesn't matter. You can leave that behind. Just make sure that you're following really best practices in terms of putting your best work out there and then doing your best to let other people know about it and see it. And then it won't matter if the algorithms change or don't change. All right, again, I'm happy to give you that 5-day course on the basics of social media. If you want to pop on over to my website, marjoriestieglermd.com. It's on digital strategy, so website, search engine optimization, on and off page. It'll tell you all about that in a little 5-day course. And also, again, if you have questions, feel free to leave them here in the comments or send them to me via a personal message. A lot of people do that, and I will include them in an upcoming Q&A. Thanks for watching.